So, what is on my to-do list? Wait a minute. Fuck is this? Wait a minute. Wait a minute. It's an invite from Striker? Oh, wait a minute. It's an invite to join one of those debate syndicates. Fuck no. Because guess what? Debate syndicates are retarded. What's up, everybody? To another fucking video. And today is the start of an official actual series this time. More so, it's one of the most criticizing videos again because this is another criticization video again about the Discord debating community. Obviously speaking from the fucking perspective of a guy who's been on the ridiculing end of fucking circle jerks because people, gotta fucking dick suck their friends, obviously to make them look good, because to preserve their friendship because they are fucking parasocial and can't go outside and get an actual friend or girlfriend, so they have to fucking beat their own meat, right? It's fucking garbage, Fucking Discord debating syndicates, man. Discord debating syndicates. Are you kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? Like, you can't go a day without being fucking dick sucked by these guys. Comment on your video when you post, a fucking debate. Oh, you lost, you lost, you lost. You asked her for the reasoning. They don't fucking give you. Sometimes they do give you the reasoning. But, they end up being so fucking retarded. They stop responding. Say, for example, would be Tron's in the game. I find, like, almost everybody there, like, retarded. Except, like, maybe a few. Tron's decent. Don't hold them up as necessarily good. That's, like, one of the things. Like, earlier I saw fucking, like, he was supposed to debate fucking Focus earlier today, and I saw a fucking like dick sucker in the fucking like chat saying whoever insulted Tron, we try to place him back together, but his body's irreparable. Tron is so scary on court. Shut the fuck up. No one is fucking scary on Discord. You're on Discord.com, buddy. You're fucking writing to me on a keyboard and trying to talk to me while fucking being incoherent as fuck. Shut the fuck up. You literally hold the active spirits, bro. If anything, like I don't really hold active spirits, but it's a good way to argue. I'll admit that. But definitely speaking from like fucking perspectives of like someone who hates fucking Discord syndicates. Apollo literally calls himself a syndicate slayer, but this guy fucking has a syndicate. If it isn't fucking Arianas, you literally have people who dick suck Arianas. People claim he lost a T jump, But then you also have his dick suckers. So I'm not even calling you out, Hyde, because I feel like you aren't even a dick sucker. You can give valid criticism when it's due. The other day I debated Riz on fucking DCT being like able to actually be an accountable metaphysical like view when obviously being inclusive towards the proposition of moral realism being true. And this dude did like literally said because it's dependent upon God's beliefs. God wouldn't have. Okay, hold on. First of all, he asked me if I subscribe like to specific like what type of fucking moral realist like stance. He said semantical realist or some more semantical moral realist was actually a fucking more realist view. It's not a more realist view, first of all, because it's dependent upon fucking sentences and etc. Something which has etymology, origin from human standards. If you're literally saying they come from human standards, human knowledge, and this and that would obviously remain that it's dependent upon the English language and shit to actually be formed by humans to be given a set definition then. That would be a subjectivist view, you fucking retard. Not to mention, like, say for example, it's literally weak to things like connotative fucking definitions or something that's cool feel for the fucking framework or the analytical framework, which is being supported upon the fucking statement. Like, say for example, right? If I sit here and say this guy is gay and that's morally objective, right? Within the case of the meta ethical proposition, obviously being cited here or given an account of basically, more realism. I say the other guy is gay, right? If I sit here and say this specifically is gay, there cannot be any other fucking definition because obviously this would mean this is gay. This version of gay is true. The other one would mean that there's another truth, but it's still gay at the same time. Are you saying there's two different like uses of like gay? So gay can both contradict the other definition, like it's because it's not the same definition, claiming gay is the same usage, while holding towards different like etymologies and more so different accounts of it are the same as a contradiction. So first of all, let me go back to where like is why I find it fucking contradictory in the first place, because this dude doesn't accurately know basic shit like, I would say like fucking things like that. Like I already gave like a valid reductio towards it, but here's the thing. So like when you consider like semantical fucking moral realism, you are saying semantical propositions are just propositions which are held to through reflexing of like the English language, holding that symmetrical binding. You'd be saying, obviously speaking, the account is asserting that this is truthful objectively as a form of like metaphysical fucking structure within the universe. It's literally a part of the nature of the universe to be objective, right? That would affirm some form of ontological status or like ontological affirmation towards it. Like within a realism, like when you take ontological realism, not like solopism and shit like that. Um, Basically saying in that case, you can only take that one specific thing of gay is true because the other usage of gay, obviously contradicting the usage of this specifically gay, gay would only have to have one meaning if it's objective. Because nothing else which invokes gay as like the usage of gay in the first place would cannot be the case. Like, let me explain real quick because you're probably gonna call me retarded because obviously you'd say, oh, so like this holds two different sets of truth, right? Obviously something else could be true within a fucking set. Yeah, Saber. Let me explain to you the context. If I say, let's just say, for example, the proposition, my mother is gay, within the quote, and then I say, my mother is gay sexually, you would say, oh, well, the first definition can mean happy and etc. That's like a connotative fucking definition in the first place, right? You say that belongs to a different set of truths. If I say the bottom definition, the same as gay, which is would be a connotative or colloquial context, which is a semantical necessity, truth by specific conjunctive relationship, then I deal with clauses dependency. Gay for the first definition would be happy. Obviously, both are distinct in terms of definition, and one might say, oh, can't they just belong to a distinct set of quantification which make them true, or some form of realism is true as well? But the semantic implications contradict one another because each definition, if it's taken to be true, contradicts one another. Because if the statement invoking gay is a true definition of real, the other statement can't be real, which it's simple liar's paradox, which means connotative expression shows contradiction within truth of the statements, which the semantical necessity and usage of the word can invoke distinct truths and contradict this specific usage of the word that makes it true. The electic necessity for working under the framework or the metaphysical framework of more realism as in P1. Sorry, I'm reading off the fucking argument. And the semantical realist position. Yeah, you already know the fucking semantical realist position. Using large the statement for gay can only have one meaning because of the concept. Not to mention the sense, but because of LEM. LEM is just law of excluded middle. How we fucking classify propositions and falsity and truthfully, those two distinct frameworks, which can be taken as like one as the other. That's how you assign what is truthful within propositions or what is false. And if there's a contradiction within that, you can't hold like both being true or one or the other because of the said contradiction. That's simple propositional logic. So the statement would be false because the other usage of gay. Gay is still the word, and the definition is a description or representation of what the word is supposed to be. If you say this description isn't true because the other one, that's still falsifying the other definition. So since it depends upon the objectivity of the statement, literally speaking, semantical realism literally rejects the truthfulness of a semantical fucking statement, which is just paradoxical in the first place. So in that sense, you can't really prescribe truth, which would just make it like more so like an anti-realist position. So if Rizhan is sitting here subscribing to something like fucking semantic realism, calling that, fucking a more realist position. That is not a more realist position, given what the fucking context definition is. You fucking retard. You can't really hold to that. That's literally the first thing he asked me, like, what fucking metaethical view I hold to. I said metaphysical moralism. That's just when you hold that it's like metaphysical structures within the universe and metaphysical objects, like objectively existing. I just view that it's like within the fucking universe and etc. Like more so some form of like what the fucking word is, like I wouldn't even say property because like, that's some bloater shit. Uh, Qualitative assignment. More so, sorry, I got sidetracked there. I was fucking looking at my dog. Not qualitative assignment. Sorry, that's just like fucking taking non-numerical shit. Which would be like assigning or attributing fucking something that's non-numerical, like reflexive of itself. I think obviously something exists would have to be reflexive of it obviously existing because if that's not the case, then you can't really assign. There's like a domain for the quantifications of like properties and etc. The measurement of numerical identity. And obviously, when something has the same values as stuff, that's basically just shit in Lebanese law, shit like that. But like, off the fucking rambling, um, mainly just speaking, it's more so just like a qualitative property of like ontological descriptors of the universe, or just like laws and natural laws and etc. Because like, if I accept that it's the case, it would fall under the metaphysical principles of metaphysical frameworks, logical frameworks, because these are like metaphysical truths in the first place. Like, yeah, no, it's like a metaphysical truth held towards that. Like, you can prove it, so I guess it wouldn't technically be a metaphysical truth. Well, not the pure. Well, actually, you could use empirical science, but it just more so depends on what you do. I just think it's like grounded within reality, like it's unchangeable. It's like some form of necessary thing. You accept moral, like objective things existing. You sit here and say, like, say for example, essentially speaking, like logical truths. Fuck. Hold on, I think my laptop died. Oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man. Okay, but like back to what I was originally saying. Like, if you were to take like principles of like a fucking metaphysical framework or like logical framework, these are things which are essential towards logical framework. So more so a meta-ethical framework, you can't really change those moralistic truths if they're objective because that would subject them to fallibility and mean that these things capable of change and that moral truths, given that they are moral truths, morals in themselves aren't really, well, could be subject to change. That would be changing the frameworks and essentially things about how we classify things under like scopes of things. It's similar to logical truths. You can't really like change logical truths because that essentially changes the fucking modality part. Like the specific scope wouldn't be the scope. That would be a contradiction towards that thing, claiming it's this specific scope. So it's like the scope of truths. If you change like the fucking truth thing, that it's not truthful. It's like simple fucking contradictions, shit like that. Yeah, enough about that fucking part. Because obviously Rizhan is retarded if he accepts semantical fucking moral realism as an actual moral realist stance, more so than it being like a subjectivist stance where someone takes the fucking belief does as a proposition or something like that. They're like obviously speaking that it's acceptable. Like my debate with him was so fucking retarded. He was not tracking the actus purus part. Like, dude, like I don't know how you can actually hold that DCT can't be a fucking moral realist stance. Consider DCT divine command theory just literally fucking asserts that divine commands are from God. It's more so not the part about moral like agents. They're just moral commands. They're not beliefs of God. More so like it would be within it's grounded within God's moral nature and etc. Essentially speaking, these things are within God's moral nature to say this is the case. More so than his beliefs, which can be derived. Like if God has beliefs instead of like all knowing, it's like the omni properties. It contradicts the things of omni properties, like all omnipotent things. Like if I were to say that God isn't technically omnipotent as well, God wouldn't even be God according to like fucking definition and shit. Like God also like has things like a necessary being, shit like that. If God is supposed to be a necessary being and he's all knowing, like these things are part of the fucking necessary being, like the identification process, and the account of God is basically just saying, this is God, essentially speaking. Necessary beings are reflexive of themselves in terms of self-subsistence and their essence, therefore, same value, and so you cannot change them. That's their fucking nature in terms of self-subsistence, right? Because he's dependent upon himself. God wouldn't be able to be dependent upon anybody else if he's a necessary being. He cannot go through change. Otherwise, that obviously says he's contingent to some form of change existentially as well, which is enacting upon him. That's just a contradiction towards being a necessary being within fucking modal logic, right? And sitting here speaking, if God has beliefs, morals are capable of acting upon God. That's literally saying God take a stance when he's supposed to be the one giving the commands about morality and shit like that. He's the one supposed to be the grounding for the moral frameworks in question, the objective moral frameworks. If he's the grounding, but these things are supposedly also like the grounding for God itself, that means he's contingent upon a specific framework to exist. Otherwise, if you change that, that cannot be the case. That's more so of an essentialist view. You would take that morals have to be essential, but more so, God is needed for these moral frameworks, which means they can fail. Like if you take away God, that's why God can more so like not be questioned as like going through change, or morals would have to be more so eternally linked with fucking like sorry for absolute stuff for a loss, 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 like eternal, more so like unchangeable, like God, because that'd be saying like these things are like necessary things themselves, like the frameworks, the scopes are necessary things, even though there's already a necessary thing grounding them in the first place. If they're necessary, they cannot change, but they still need the grounding for that. You'd be saying, oh, they're accidental then, if they don't not need that, which would be a necessary thing. Necessary thing in themselves, speaking from the context of what I'm mentioning, like if these things are necessary in the first place, they themselves would have to be necessary, which just invokes self-subsistence. But if God is supposed to be the necessary thing, they are being enacted upon for existential contingency, which means you cannot have like moral things in like general as like specifically speaking like eternal with God, or obviously speaking necessary, because obviously they're existentially contingent and capable of obviously speaking like in accordance, because they have to be there because of God. So if God exists, we would accept moral truths under this framework and analyzation and the account given from the explanation. like the accounting of like DCT would have to be because of God. God gives these moral frameworks, grounding in the first place, which would be moral commands. So if moral, like objective morals, are also moral commands, it's more so right that you follow it because it's God in the first place. It's like God. So if God is giving these like commands, etc., is the grounding, then more so these things don't hold to the point where they also exist with God. Like, they're posterity, or more so like God would have to be dependent, have to have beliefs with him because he's the grounding for it. Like, you would sit there and say God being the necessary being for it is being enacted upon the first thing, which makes him contingent, like, to belief and shit like that. You'd be saying God and his rational nature, with his, like, obviously within him being a necessary being, reflexive being, dependent upon himself, but then his moral nature is dependent upon the fucking moral frameworks, which he's the grounding for. Obviously, would have to state there's parts and composition to the whole point of how God works, which means the necessary being is capable of being changed by these moral frameworks, which are grounded by God, which is just a contradiction towards necessary beings in total. So God is taken to be a necessary being within a theological model. You cannot hold that. That is not DCT. DCT holds God as a necessary being in either way. Because God is obviously defined as this maximally great fucking being in the context of DCT. So, obviously, hopefully I'm not swearing. Obviously I'm not. So I'll stop for a while. But more so, he's a necessary being. He is needed for these moral frameworks. He's the one giving me moral commands who knows that these are objective and shit like that. He cannot be subject to moral beliefs in the first place. You cannot sit here and say God has beliefs when he knows, he acknowledges that these things are truthful. That's the whole point about, his knowledge and shit like that. Like, obviously providing for, more realistic arguments, like things that are like moral, more so, obviously speaking, because that's change within a necessary being. You'd be admitting your own God is contingent if the moral frameworks are supposed to be the necessary part. You'd have to say morality is the necessity then for the grounding of all things because it's an essentialist view. Everything is supposed to be essential and cannot change under that view. That's like modally essentialist theism, basically. That's modally essentialist theism, analytically speaking. That's the account of MET. MET fails because, in the first place, that same theological model of God is literally contingent. You view a God as a necessary being who's capable of giving these moral commands in the first place, but these moral commands sit here and operate him to even do that. That would sit there and say they're not, subject to him. When he's supposed to be given moral commands, you're supposed to follow because it's from God. That's basic divine command theory. That's basic divine command theory. And this dude has the nerve to sit there and tell me I have never picked up a fucking meta-ethical book. Buddy, you haven't picked up a theological book. You have not picked up any type of actual theological knowledge or modality for that matter. My guy, you sit there and you read books on philosophy, but you never make your own deductions or question. You just say, oh, these books must be right because I'm a retard and I learned from books. Just because a book can give you knowledge doesn't mean that knowledge in itself is correct. That's like me saying, like, say for example, because like Pennywise exists within the fucking book, I take it that he should be an enemy of a fucking cosmic fucking turtle, which exists within this universe. I should take it to be the case that is absolute, that, obviously the cosmic turtle is capable of existing, specifically speaking. If I was to sit there and say, not question that knowledge or that logical capability, but then I sit here and say, oh, and I find contradictions within it, obviously speaking, I would say this is an inconceivable model and incoherent to actually establish within an actual view or framework, because the framework isn't applicable towards any scope or modality, nor is it an actual thing which can be conceived. It's just pure logicality, pure imagination. Like some people are confused on some things, like certain things within modality, like syndicates most of the time are circle jerkers. Back to what I was saying. Rizhan is a great example of people hyping up, like Gyro for that example. Gyro hypes him up and sucks his dick. Like he used to be good friends with Hyde until he turned on Hyde. He literally ruined that fucking friendship. So that entire friendship is an example of what happens when you lose your syndicate. You stop being dick sucked after you insult somebody and you're disliked automatically through another syndicate. Hyde has his own syndicate too, like Apollo, shit like that. He's also like a circle jerk with him. This is no offense towards Apollo, obviously speaking, but like, makes it an example because they sit there and they do shit like that, you know? You become disliked, you become called low tier, even though you were viewed as quote unquote good from Hyde before. But now you're viewed as some low tier, okay? That's a perfect example. And this is the reason why they actually have a good view on that. They actually have some form of competent view. Obviously, speaking from what you told me fucking yesterday, you dumbass. You can't actually debate on basic fucking theology. I don't know why it's that hard. Why is it that hard to actually pick up a book on metaethics? Wait, here's the funny part. All this shit can actually just be realized through basic fucking logic. Like you saying God is contingent on beliefs is so fucking like retarded that it makes me want to blow my own brains out, Rizhan. This is the reason why you got disliked by Hyde Syndicate. This is the reason why you have your own goons who are retarded too. Like Gyro disliked Hyde as well. They got into it even though he used to be part of the Apollo Syndicate. Hyde, obviously, you know, Apollo stick with Hyde and shit like that. And obviously you insulting Apollo. This obviously follows the point where you are not liked by either of them because you ruined both their friendship, and now they have combined both views of a syndicate to dislike you and call you low tier. That is what happened. Their entire consensus shifted upon you. And I hold that you actually lost that, by the way, Garo, because like you're such a moron, bro. Like it's not funny. You can't track shit, bro. More so speaking, in no actual view would syndicates be good if it's just based upon feelings because people insult people. Like my main entire point is just like it's fucking circle jerking. Rizhan is exposed to being a retard, and he's good with friends with people who he also hates. Therefore, it combines the fucking views. Therefore, you know, they come together, they start sucking each other's dicks to get the fucking super amps, you know? Their cum shoots out, goes down their fucking mouth, they get fucking super jacked like a fucking steroid, a fucking drug addict, right? They become super buffed in terms of confidence, go to debate, look like a retard, but they believe, you know, they're actually competent, this shit like that. And after shit like that, they sit there wondering, why do people hate them? Well, I'll tell you why. It's because they don't like other syndicates. Syndicates don't like each other. And when someone else is convinced of another syndicate view, or, you know, obviously speaking, are exposed and shit like that, you know, obviously lose faith in someone. Obviously, something goes wrong with inside the syndicate, not just from external affairs. If something internal happens that causes a syndicate to fail, something external also happens that causes a syndicate to fail. Syndicates are not good. They're trying to have somebody say that you won or lost. So obviously speaking, syndicates in general are just full of biased people who want to be friends with people so they can get more clicks and verdicts because they're fucking insecure. Like the examples I gave are perfect fucking representations of that. The guy who Rizhan team up, the team of fucking retards versus the team up of super dick chargers. Apollo and Hyde. Like no offense towards the other like team, it's like full offense towards Rizhan and shit like that. Cause like that nigga also sucked my dick in recording too. It's up on my YouTube channel. He's fucking weird. Fucking weird ass motherfucker, bro. But like, there's like no in no fucking possible world is it good to even have a syndicate because there's just so many problems that could happen more than there is that can fix. The only best thing you can get out of it is pleasure in knowing that people are giving you verdicts out of pure biasness to try and help the syndicate grow, so they can also benefit from it. Because obviously it benefits them as well for you saying that, you know, it gives them pleasure. It's only a fucking circle jerk. That's like a metaphorical consideration of what a circle jerk is. That is what happens when you have a circle jerk full of people who want recognition, fame, money, glory. They don't want the truth. They don't want actual fucking logic. They deny basic logical principles. They don't study shit. They try and ridicule you for you not picking up a book. But you sit there questioning their logic because they're genuinely retarded. And their syndicate says they're right as well because, obviously they want the fucking same fame and glory. It's the same shit over and over. The cycle is a syndicate forms, syndicate grows. More pleasuring, more pleasuring, more pleasuring. And then boom, when something happens, obviously speaking, syndicate falls apart or someone is ejected from the syndicate, no longer feeling pleasure, they find a new syndicate and then sit there, join up with them, circle jerk some more, until finally that syndicate also collapses and the other one collapses due to the same fucking problems ready to repeat themselves because the syndicates won't ever last if that shit keeps happening. Someone claims they lost and shit like that. Like, if you motherfuckers knew how many people go on their alts to try and say you lost, yet in actuality, on their actual account, they support you. For an example, like Warrior Z has a fucking goon server. Like, he's friends with Tron. He's a goon of Tron. But he's so retarded. Like, why would you even want the view of Warrior Z on your side? That makes you feel pathetic more than it does actually feel competent. Tron, bro. You got drawn my focus trying to loud mic. Sit down, bro. Sit down. Your syndicate does the same thing as this. A major example, a major, like, example, maybe a huge example, would be like Wahoo. Wahoo literally got told to kill himself just because he debated another person in the same syndicate, and these guys wanted to dick ride because this guy does extra dick riding more than him. It's fucking cruel to do. You just want what's best for yourself. That's a perfect example. It's fucking cruel. I don't know why anybody would sit there and do that, especially when the dude had problems. You don't deserve to sit there and do that. Like, you claim you didn't know, but, like, honestly speaking, you still should have some fucking consideration for your morality for other people as well. If you don't, that just proves you just are in the lookout for yourself. Like, it doesn't directly prove it, but it shows that there are some traits that could possibly be there. And that's what I mean by syndicates. People are just selfish. It all circles back to what I'm explaining. Syndicates rise, fall. Some people fall from the syndicate, and then more people fall because there's no other supporting structure. The syndicates fail. So the model of a syndicate is basically just so crappy. I would rather have a system built upon truth. If someone tells me I lost, won, this and that, I would rather have that on my side rather than fake shit, which potentially leads me to getting, insecure, falling on my knees because, obviously speaking, like, I chose to reject syndicates. I made a syndicate myself, but honestly speaking, I tell people if they lost or not. I don't try and hold it back because it's, like, bad. You know? Like, I just go off what I hear and shit like that. That's when somebody asks me to judge. Like, sometimes I don't judge at all is because my judging could cause people to go at me and shit like that. It's not obviously out of self-preservation, but, like, I'd rather not ruin the friendship. It caused this person more pain and shit like that, obviously speaking. But you just want what's more so good for you because obviously you didn't consider that person at all. It's heavily distinct, and it's the reason why syndicates are so bad in the comm. You should have truth on your side no matter what. This bias shit makes the Discord debating community look so fucking retarded. It's not even funny, bro. It looks like it just makes you look like a fucking clown in actuality. Like, you might be viewed as, like, heavily high because of that, but, like, other people just want, to not be targeted by you guys because, like, the fucking overwhelming pressure as well. Sometimes people have anxiety and shit like that. More so, you are just viewed as good to your other syndicates. You can't change other people's views. You just put pressure on them by multiple people saying this shit. It makes you feel bad, but you don't realize the truth. It's bad. It's just the classical fucking syndicate problem. The syndicate problem of the debating community. Wow. What a great start to the debating intellectual intellectual giants. Another major example would be Infinity. I went over fucking Infinity back in my other, like, commentary video, like, my commentary on the comm, but more so speaking, this is just in general more so viewing specific sets of the syndicates, like the Apollo Syndicate. the Race syndicate, those are great examples in the first place of what could happen when someone has a syndicate but then falls and then another syndicate rises. That was a great start to supporting how this cycle of syndicates even start and why it's faulty in the first place, because it's just destined to fail all one another just in case if something bad happens. Just in case. There's just so many problems with it. Like, there's just so many things which can happen. It's just badly built. I'm not saying it falls because, like, obviously speaking, it could be a good supporting if someone, obviously, was, like, obviously speaking, not selfish. It's just doing it for his friends. But obviously, people just want the fame and glory and self-pleasuring, which is something I meant, which just shows how it could fail. Your selfishness allows for the failing of Discord syndicates. So if anyone sits here and watches this video, this commentary, just remember, if you're a part of a syndicate, any of these syndicates mentioned within the video, obviously you come to sit here and realize, obviously speaking, you sit here and tell me I'm wrong for thinking this. That's on your own. That is on your own. And you might want to, hold that view to yourself. Because it's better to be by yourself than a fake friends. Fake friends of a fake syndicate who don't give a crap about you. They just want what's best for themselves. That's a part of the syndicate cycle. Hold that view to yourself if you think I'm wrong. It's better than share it with a syndicate who might think otherwise through alts. Obviously speaking, from the account given, they don't necessarily truly agree. You never know what is behind a fucking screen, what is within a mind, because we are humans. We are all humans. We share distinct beliefs. Muslim, Christian, whatever you want to be. That's an example of beliefs. It's best not to have a syndicate because of what can happen to people. Just truly just think of the problem of syndicates. Like, are you truly willing to ruin a friendship for your own self-preservation? It makes you more twisted than they are them. Like, yeah, man. That's what makes the Discord debating community so bad and so retarded. It's just the fact that these people are just selfish and truly retarded in the same way. They all get together to try and make themselves feel better, and when it falls apart, one is considered retarded, whilst the other, it's doomed to fall again, therefore everybody's a retard again. You're by yourself again. You're still retarded. You're a singular being ready to fall. Again. You're just surrounded by more retards and extra retarded support. And then when that retarded support fails and the other ones are still retards, you're effectively a part of the same syndicate, but you guys just don't trust anymore in each other. So it's not really a syndicate, but it's an example of what could happen to a syndicate and what's left of the syndicate. So to anyone with a syndicate, please just get rid of it, bro. It's so fucking bad. And if you honestly have a syndicate, you're so corny, you can't take criticism because you want to pressure people. That's obviously the biggest fucking issue with the debated com is egotistical niggas. So, by far, trying to get your ego in check, and hopefully this criticism helped. It was like approved by like Batman. It was approved by me, myself, and I. Obviously speaking. It's also proven by my Viagra bottle. Viagra, whoa. Sorry, I didn't mean to say Viagra. My Niagara water bottle. Sorry. It's also proven by the Sentinels, the people who guard my bedroom, which are just basically my dogs, man. Peace. And remember, assalamu alaikum. May Allah bless you with fortune and guidance. Thank you for listening. Amen.